Welcome to the POTRBLOG site. It is Sunday, October 23rd, 2011. Have some troubling breaking news on the detection of thyroid cancer-inducing Iodine-133 here in some St. Louis fallout. This video might be a little bit longer, so what I'm going to do here is give a quick overview of the detection, show you where this fallout potentially also occurred across North America, and I'll also give you some systems assistance analysis on what I believe is happening in Fukushima in the groundwater as a result of this Iodine-133 detection and a previous Neptunium-239 detection. And I will end the video with an explanation of the math, detailed explanation of the math behind the detection of the iodine and the Xenon 133. So first, the detection. This fallout occurred on 10/17/11. This is a chart mapping the decay of this fallout. There's basically 4 key zones in it. A short half-life zone, which was radon daughters, the detection of iodine-133, the detection of the iodine daughter product Xenon-133, and then some longer half-life radiation, which is unquantified except that it's longer half-life. And then the green line here is the background radiation. And I'll go into some more detail on this. Left-hand side, average counts per second. But basically what we have here is a very high detection of radon daughters initially. This was 276 times greater than background. Measured in terms of cesium, it would have been 2.76 milligrams per hour. At 2 milligrams per hour, pregnant women are advised to leave an area. This quickly burned off after about 300 minutes, and then we had a detection of iodine-133, which has the half-life we detected was 19 hours. This is a 20-hour detection, so it has a full half-life window. And then over the last several days, we did further analysis, and we were able to detect Xenon-133, which is the daughter product of iodine-133. And that pretty well makes it a slam that this is in fact iodine-133. And the troubling thing about this is that A, we weren't warned that it was coming. B, it is possible to do things to protect yourself from iodine fallout. And you'll have to ask your doctor about that. It's just utterly troubling that people are not made aware of what's going on. One of the first things that people often say, though, when they hear this and see that iodine has a 20-hour half-life is, well, that possibly could not have come from Fukushima with a 20-hour half-life. People, I think, don't understand what half-life means. It means every 20 hours, half of it's gone. Nor do they understand the initial concentration levels in Fukushima. Nor do they understand how fast things travel. The quickest travel time for radioactive fallout to Europe that I'm aware of is 7 days. There have been iodine-133 detections in California and Seattle. And the first one we'll go to here is, well, this is from EPA RadNet. And this is from EPA RadNet's own database. And what I've done here is a search for iodine-131, 132, and 133 in San Francisco, California. And what you'll see here is 4 detections. 3 of them are in air filters. One of them is a detection of iodine-131 in pasteurized milk. All these detections were done with gamma ray spectrometry. And usually what that means is that they have to let the sample sit for a while for all the short half-life radiation to burn off before they're able to go in and do any detailed analysis. These samples were collected from March 15th through March 18th. Now, for whatever reason, and this search is done through October, EPA has not been giving any detailed information on what type of fallout we've been getting since March. So let's look at these detections real quick. Just scroll over here to the right. This first one is air filter. It's Iodine-131. Has an 8-day half-life. Here's the actual detection quantity, and you can see it's higher, significantly higher than its combined standard uncertainty, so this is a strong positive detection. The next detection is for Iodine-132. Iodine-132 has an extremely short half-life of 2.3 hours. And if you look at this detection, you see it's actually a significant detection because, again, the detected amount is significantly higher than combined standard uncertainty. Now, the reason this short half-life item is being detected is because iodine is 132 is a decay product of, I believe, tellurium, which has a 3-day half-life. So this is a daughter decay product of a longer half-life fallout. Next, we have the milk detection of Iodine-131. And again, the result is here it's 2 times higher than combined standard uncertainty, so that's a positive detection even by their standards. Finally, we come down to Iodine-133, 20.8 hour half-life. And if you look at the detection amount, it is significantly higher than the combined standard uncertainty. So this is a true detection of Iodine-133. Now, all the parent products of Iodine-133 have shorter half-lives. This sample, if we look here, was run from in an air filter from March 15th to March 18th, and the run start was on March 19th. So they let this sample sit for at least 24 hours before they took the detection. And this sample was taken from an air filter. The samples we have here in St. Louis basically came down from the rain. Weather and rain have a significant capability of concentrating fallout. So hopefully that'll help you understand that yes, a 20.8 hour half-life fallout is possible to be detected in St. Louis from Fukushima. Now, to show you where this fallout fell, for those of you who are concerned, and it hit a significant swath of the country. Here's an archive of the jet stream. This is the actual jet stream history. This is not a simulation. Starts on the 10th of October. I run it for 10 days, and the times are in Zulu, which is Greenwich Mean Time. So to get St. Louis time, you have to subtract, I believe, 6 hours off of this. If we look at the map here, we'll see dead center is the North Pole. Over here, we have Fukushima, and if you follow the latitude line across, we come in right to St. Louis. Now what we're going to watch is there's a blob of, all this gray area is high-speed wind, the jet stream. We're going to watch a blob of jet stream come across Fukushima, dip down through Hawaii, come up and enter the United States. So let's go ahead and resume this. And again, this is on October 16th. So let's start this. Now, we're ready at, let's resume here. Let's get to the beginning. October 20th. Okay. We'll back it up. Alright, so we're going to watch a swath develop and move down. So let's resume. Alright, I've stopped it on October 14th. You can see there's a dip down in here. And this is the part that's contained in this Iodine-133. So let's step forward. This is October 14th. And you see the dip again moving further down. And here's where it's going to start to enter the United States. This is where we'll get the rain from. So it's down here, and it's going to merge with this northern pattern too. So now we're on October 17th, and I'll take it right to the point of the detection. October 17th, October 18th, midnight Zulu, which would be roughly 6 p.m. in St. Louis time. The storm, I think, came through like at 4 o'clock. So this is a couple hours past. So what you're going to watch is as the storm came, as these jet stream blew through and dropped this radioactive iodine-133 on us, you can see where it's tracked across the country. And I'm just going to let it resume. You see it goes up the Atlantic coast. So we'll watch it again. You can see it forming, coming, drives through. Let's see if it hits Hawaii. Yep. Come up. All right, now what we'll do is give you a little better idea. We'll zoom in on just North America. Now here I'm starting on October 15th, and this over here on the left is the blob of jet stream we want to watch. So let me get it a little bit. There we go. So let's start it. See it come in. It goes right through the south and up the Atlantic coast. Let's back it up. And you can see it hits Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, goes to the entire south. It's almost like Sherman's march in reverse from the south up through the north. So we'll go forward here. So the entire Atlantic coast got hit with this, as well as almost all the United States got hit with this. Fortunately, some of this iodine-133 would have been decayed out here. So it's worse the further west you go. And watch it one more time. Okay. Now let's discuss quickly the systems of systems aspect of this, which I think what really ties this together, and that is in a few weeks before this, we had a detection here in St. Louis on 10/12, almost a week before. We had a detection that was indicative of Neptunium-239. It's not a lock that it was Neptunium-239, but this is the second time we've detected a fallout pattern that matched this, and I have a relatively high certainty that this is Neptunium-239 that we're detecting here. Now, so fast forward 7 days, and we have this detection of Iodine-133 and Xenon-133. And as I went through here, I didn't make any detections of, or I didn't see any detections in here of Neptunium. So I had to think about that for a little bit. It's possible that they were watered down or overpowered by these other detections. But I think what's really going on here is something I've described here in a recent POTRBLOG video. And let's go back. And here it is. It's Fukushima Re-criticality, Neutron Feast and Famine Cycle, Dancing with the Devil. Now, I believe what's happening here is that we have corium in the groundwater in Fukushima fissioning. And as it's fissioning, it's steaming up the water in the ground into the atmosphere. That water is heavily radon laden, and that's why we're getting the high radon detections. And those high radon detections are a warning sign that longer half-life radiation is likely also in the sample. So it's one reasonably sure methodology for tracking your potential fallout exposure. Now, when this fission is occurring full power, let's call it, and it's free-flowing neutron rich, the neutron bombardment is creating Neptunium-239, which after a few days decays into Plutonium-239. Now, on the other hand, once large levels of Iodine-133 and Xenon-133 are being produced, those isotopes tend to, or at least the Xenon-133, absorbs neutrons. It's actually called poisoning, fission poisoning. So it blocks or reduces the criticality. So what it looks like we're having is an alternating cycle of a larger amount, a neutron feast, if you will, going on during the criticality, followed by changes in groundwater or something causing a neutron famine, leading to the production of Iodine-133 and Xenon-133. So basically the detections of neptunium and iodine ought to be somewhat self-exclusive. Now, if anybody else would like to chime in with better analysis than that, I would appreciate hearing it. But the key thing and the possibly troubling thing in here is that, I call this a dance with the devil. Well, the dance with the devil gets dangerous when the tune changes. So when we switch from a neutron famine back to the neutron feast because of a change of something in the groundwater, if that change happens too rapidly, then there's a potential for an explosive, unmoderated re-criticality. Now, there's a lot of detective work and sleuthing that can be done that if you have the right equipment, there are people out there who probably have a pretty good understanding right now of what's occurring in the groundwater in Fukushima, how much corium is in the groundwater, and how it's cycling. And they can probably more than likely ascertain the true risks and likely outcomes. But for us, the dance is to see which comes first, thyroid cancer or lung cancer, as we get these alternating exposures. And the question becomes to when is it risk mitigating for it to actually be beneficial for that site to blow so that the corium is dispersed and fission products stop. I sure hope right now somebody is doing an analysis on how to develop a boron water penetrator on the front of a Moab or a JDAM to try to decriticalize what's happening there. Unlikely it would ever be done because of the political ramifications, but it's better than decades of this alternating fallout occurring. It's just a horrible subject. I mean, it's just utterly horrible. So let's go back to the detection here again. And here's Iodine-133. And if you can see from Iodine-133, it decays via beta decay into Xenon-133. Xenon-133 has a half-life of 5.24 hours. So in this detection, if we detect a product with roughly a 20-hour half-life, and then follow up with another detection behind it of something with a roughly 5-hour half-life, we combine that with what we know is going on in Fukushima, and this is almost a dead certain lock that this is Iodine-133 and Xenon-133. If anybody else has an alternative candidate that fits this profile, I'd be more than happy to hear it. So let's go on to the actual math of the detection. And I know the copyright here they usually put on about POTRBLOG will probably cover up some of these parts of this chart. But these charts you're about to see will be on the blog site, POTRBLOG.com, so you can look at them in greater detail if you wish. Now what we have here is this is a log chart. On the left-hand side we're measuring average counts per second, and that averaging occurs over different time periods as we step through. We've got a bottom we have minutes, 0 to 8,000 minutes, which covers I think roughly Monday through Saturday of last week. I start off initially with a 10-second cycling, so that the counts per second you see are an average over 10 seconds. Then it goes to 30-second cycling, which is down into here, so the counts per second are an average over every 30 seconds. Then I go to 120-second cycling, which is 2 minutes, so all these counts in here are 2-minute averages. And then for this extended period, these are 900-second averages, which is 15 minutes. And that's one of the reasons you'll see in here that the amount of variation in here changes over time, and that's because the averaging is taking place over a long time period, reducing the variation. Here in yellow you'll see the radon daughters, And this yellow line, it's a straight yellow line. It's actually an exponential curve fit, but it's straight because it's a logarithmic chart. You can see that the radon daughters basically become undetectable in the Geiger counter here after 300 minutes. Really, they're undetectable, even a little bit shorter than that, because this green line here is background radiation. And next, these blue lines you see here, here and here, these are unfitted parts of the curve, or I did not do curve fits. And what you notice is that these curve fits here cross. So these transition zones are a lot harder to try to do accurate curve fits on. From here out, from roughly 300 minutes out, all the readings, and that's both of the source and the background, were taken inside of an improvised lead battery shield. Now, because that shielding apparatus had limited space, these background readings actually contain some gamma readings from the source. So the space here between the signal, the source signal, and background radiation is actually conservative, because there is some gamma counts in here from the source. Now, if we look at this red line here is this is a 20-hour period. So I got a full half-life sample here, and I did the analysis, and it came out in 19.25 hours, which is indicative iodine-133. Now, what I'll do here is I'll zoom in here in a second so we can get a better look at this. Then we have, and this red line, again, is how this iodine-133 would decay out over time. And you can see here, roughly about 2,000 minutes, it gets into the background levels. So it's harder to detect here. This purple line is the Xenon-133 count. And you'll see here it has you follow this up, it has a 5-day half-life. And in this one, I wasn't able to capture the full half-life, because when we reach this point where the signal starts to get into background radiation, there is still yet even longer half-life fallout in here. I did a quick curve fit on this. It came out to be like a 50-day half-life, but there's a large amount of uncertainty in here. I would expect there's iodine-131 in here and probably several other nasties, but tests on earlier sources from a month ago still show radioactive above background. So what I'm going to do here now is zoom in to this section. So let's go so we can see this a little closer. Alright, now if we notice the chart's no longer logarithmic, it just goes straight up standard. So these decay lines are now actually look exponentially decurved. And again, in here we're in 2-minute averaging, and you can see some of the gamma sources are obviously transferring across to a background here. And again, here's a transition zone where I didn't try to do a curve fit, because transition zones are difficult to curve fit. Now this time period here is almost 1/4 of the half-life. So that's a relatively strong time period, quarter of the wave, if you will, that allows us to get a pretty good indication of what this half-life is. And even the fit's actually really good here for the amount of variability. And you can see between the gap here that this is still a really strong signal above background. So this is a really good signal. And again, this gap is conservative, because this background radiation signal is actually getting some gamma ray impingement, if you will, from the actual source. So as we get out to roughly, looks like about 3,500 minutes, you can see that the Xenon-133 source starts to get to an area where it starts to intermingle with background, and we can't reliably detect it anymore without making the fit and the analysis worse. So then we get into the longer half-life component here, again, which probably includes iodine-131. Now, so you can see here, this is a really strong indication. You know, it's basically a 1-2 punch. 20-hour half-life followed by a 5-day half-life with really strong fits with high signal-to-noise ratio. I can't think of anything else that fits this pattern. And this is extremely troubling. It's troubling from the perspective of cycling Neptunium-239, which turns into plutonium, followed by groundwater changes in Fukushima, and Xenon-133 poisoning the neutron bombardment, or poisoning the fission process and absorbing some neutrons, causing a neutron famine. So we've got this potential cycle going on with some qualitative but not quantified by me risk of an actual criticality that could lead to a violent explosion. There are people out there who know, based on this type of data, exactly what those risks are, but they're not being shared with us. But again, the most absolutely troubling part of this iodine-133 detection is that people can naturally increase their iodine levels and protect their thyroid from this. And the swag I'm going to make is, and these, not just even the iodine, even the radon daughters, this whole mess, these readings are so high that pregnant women, especially women who don't know they're pregnant yet, are at risk from this, as are small children, as are adults. You know, I hate to see what's going to be coming birth defect-wise 9 months from now, which will be mid-July, or how many women are going to have potential miscarriages in the coming weeks. I wish I could quantify what the actual risk of that was, but it is extremely difficult to determine the dose rate from this because of the fallout methodology. This iodine came down in the rain. It likely fixed the contaminants on the surface of the vehicle, which allowed me to capture it and measure it. There might have been greater amounts of iodine in the air that just didn't get on my sample wipe. If you got, fortunately it was colder outside, so I don't think many people got soaking wet from this. But if you were driving in a car through this rain, or worse yet, if you were flying anywhere along that jet stream, you know, jet engines concentrate fallout. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words. All I can say is pray and good night.